Hey everybody, I'm Charting Man Dan with the chart guys. We're going to check in on crypto. The altcoin bulls showing up today. We know one day is not enough, but we're trying to build off the bull move from last week. So there's some things to check in on. We also have XMR ripping to all-time highs. There is some strength in little pockets if you look for it. Please click like. We're getting shadow banned or throttled or whatever you want to call it on Twitter, as is a bunch of the crypto community. Thanks. Learn how to trade stocks, crypto, and hype sectors with a global chat room led by professional traders, as well as daily live streams at chartguys.com. All right, so starting with the NASDAQ, just to see where we stand in the broader market. Not much going on. Sideways, bull break, no follow through. But for me, the burden of proof is on bears, so all I care about is, are we holding higher lows? And the answer is yes. If we break the higher lows, things are shifting. If we don't break the higher lows, we can say it's not a convincing bull break. I would agree with that, but nothing changes unless we're breaking support, and we're not. So keeping an eye on that, we're watching for a 30-minute equilibrium here in the short term. It's just been a bunch of 5-minute stair steps. Stair step down, marking the low. Stair step on the last leg up, marking the high. Another stair step down. That's when we scout an equilibrium. So we'll be looking for something like that. But what stood out to me in crypto is while the NASDAQ and S&P 500 were dropping on the morning, altcoins looked like this. Not quite to this extent, but there were a bunch of names up 4 to 8%. And anytime we have a pattern that is consistent 90% of the time, and that pattern has been if the NASDAQ is dropping, Bitcoin is dropping, altcoins are dropping. So anytime that other 10% happens, it stands out to us more glaringly. And so some of these names are looking for continuation. We'll check in on the altcoins in just a moment, and I will read the chat room in just a moment. But let's do my rundown. So Bitcoin, we set a daily higher low. It was more retracement than the bulls wanted to see. In an ideal world, the bulls would have held closer to this previous resistance zone and would have held 90,000. We dropped down to 89.2. Not a huge difference, but the possibility is there for now a daily equilibrium. So tomorrow's going to be pretty important for me because tomorrow we're either going to go red and be shaping this up, or we're going to stay green and be knocking on the door of this very key resistance. And why this resistance is so key is, number one, of course, we've rejected from it a bunch, but number two, that's the level we got to get over for the monthly higher low to convincingly be set. A lot of people are bearish crypto. That's fine. Obviously justified, rightfully so. But for me, I just keep reminding myself we are in a monthly uptrend. So if I'm going to be very confident that the top is in and be very confident that we're in a bear market, it's a monthly downtrend for me. So probabilities increased when we lost monthly EMA 12, but you got to seal the deal with that trend confirming. And we don't have that just yet. Because if you look back at every meaningful bear move, there have been little monthly lower highs and lower lows if we're going to stay in a prolonged bear market. So again, we're going to be talking about this potential monthly head and shoulders a lot. There are going to be a bunch of bears waiting at this zone. There's going to be a bunch of bulls looking to have a second chance to sell some. It's not going to be an easy road, but if the bulls can convincingly get over 94,000, we'll be looking for the potential of a monthly lower high in the 105 to 110 range. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's just stick with the short term. Can the bulls get over 94,000 and turn this very clear resistance zone into support? And one thing that stands out to me is, I posted this on Twitter with regards to Sol, but every time I look at a chart, I have a pretty good memory. And so I've got all these other charts that are in my head. And just look at the similarities, and you got to keep in mind, the charts are going to look a little bit different just because you got 7 daily candles for a week versus a stock that has 5 daily candles. But look at how these unrelated stock, or Bitcoin, I'm going to show you OXY, oil stock, Look at how similar that is to Bitcoin. We had tops in October, mid-November, early December, back to Bitcoin. Tops in early December. It's just a very similar chart. Battling resistance, just getting over it. We got another one completely unrelated, and that is what? I got to look at Twitter. I forget what I said. It was OXY with energy and MP, rare earth. So look at MP. All these tops that we are battling right now, these were tops in November, early December, just very similar charts. Again, just quick comparison. This is MP. This is OXY. And that's Bitcoin. So what does that mean? Well, the other two have broken bull. No follow through yet. We'll see if Bitcoin can as well. But I like that my brain does that just because, again, if I want to see as many patterns where I can look and say, oh, well, this is how this pattern resolved itself. And then I can look and see, are there any red flags, any differences, similarities, things like that. So I'm not looking at that and saying, oh, well, this individual oil stock broke bull, so Bitcoin's going to break bull as well. That's far too simplistic. For me, it's just experience, trying to rack up as much experience, looking at as many charts as possible, seeing the things play out time and time again. And so we'll see. It'll be something that I log away in the memory banks in terms of, okay, a long base of support, sideways range, trying to get monthly bounces going, and how does it play out? Because there's many different ways it can play out. But for now, can the bulls break 94,000, or do we keep tightening up into the end of the week? Because it is entirely possible, just like we've been talking about on the weekly, it's entirely possible this weekly chart keeps tightening up through January. It's entirely possible this daily chart keeps tightening up into next week. But the bulls have some nice momentum, and we'll see if they're able to build off of it. And you can see the relative strength continuing, where you look at the 30-minute time frame here, it looks very different than QQQ. QQQ lower high into this pullback. Bitcoin's trying for a 30-minute bull flag. So the relative strength standing out today for crypto. ETH, same thing. Still a lot of space here. The 2-day time frame, you can just, I mean, you could be viewing this as a bigger picture equilibrium if you want. But again, there's a lot of space to tighten up on the weekly and the daily. What I care about the next day or two, are we going to do this, or can the bulls follow through? ETH BTC hasn't really done anything for a month, which if we're going sideways on a BTC comparison chart, you're going to be, it tells you you're doing the same thing. So ETH and BTC very much the last month are doing the same thing. We know if ETH is going to take the lead, we have to see ETH BTC confirm the first monthly uptrend in a lot of years. 4+ years. That has to happen. Otherwise, ETH will not be the place to be. So we'll continue to monitor that. Nobody is talking about XMR. And again, you know, I'm not closely following the fundamentals of crypto. I guess, you know, the fact that it's not listed on a bunch of major exchanges, that makes sense. But again, when you're in a market environment where we know alt season means you close your eyes and you're making money. We don't have alt season. We know that. And you have places that this is a very strong bullish chart. I forget exactly what I said, so I can't direct quote myself, but it's probably something along the lines of, if you forced me to be long something, it's XMR and BCH, because they were just so glaringly standing out, different than any other altcoin. And we've got a weekly EMA 12 rider where XMR has been holding this support for 3+ months. We had last stream, we were talking about this 12-hour falling wedge to mark the weekly higher low, and then just an explosion. And this is why I keep saying, keep the names with a close proximity to all-time highs at the top of your list, because when price discovery happens, the fun happens. And so we're doing nothing for weeks, and then in a span of 3 days, you get a monster breakout move on monster volume. And so backburners are going to be on the table here. But just 47% in 3 days. I mean, that 3-day move is outperforming massively. We're outperforming. Look how much we're outperforming Bitcoin this entire cycle. XMR has been outperforming Bitcoin massively since August. So we'll say 5 months of massive outperformance. Anyways, at this point, XMR, it's on Kraken, but we're looking for, let's see, 5-minute oversold, marked the hourly high or low. So got right down to that. Now at this point, because we used that up, we're going to be looking for 15-minute oversold to try and mark a 4-hour high or low eventually. Looks like we're in an hourly. So when I look at this, you know, I like EMA 12 riders. This isn't a good one, right? Because we closed below it. Now we're back above it. We closed below it. So what does that mean? That means to me, just adjust your time frame. It's a 2-hour EMA 12 rider. And I know that when we lose 2-hour EMA 12, that'll tell me things are shifting potentially into daily consolidation. But again, I don't have to think. If 2-hour EMA 12 is support on XMR, the bulls have complete control and we're not topping out. Lose it, things are shifting. Congrats XMR bulls. BCH is given a little bit of a red flag to not participate today. I forget what I say publicly versus privately. You know, I make Chuck Guys videos over the weekend and things like that, but this was a potential rising wedge that has broken bear. We lost the daily uptrend and weekly consolidation is underway. So we are going to look for a weekly high or low, but a clear shift yesterday, and that is keeping the bulls from benefiting from the altcoin strength seen elsewhere today. Aside from names that have all-time highs in close proximity, the names you want to distinguish are watch your retracement size. And Sol is a good example of that. So Sol, after its breakout, its retracement, 50%, and more importantly for me, daily EMA 12. So daily EMA 12, we're struggling, reject, 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 struggle, 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 hold it. If you can just keep holding daily EMA 12, we're going to keep following through. So that's a great sign. That's a daily bull flag that technically has confirmed, but there is still this wall of resistance similar to Bitcoin's 94,000 wall. We are still battling that here. And again, just looking back, it's this previous support, resistance a ton of times. So still battling, but we're knocking on the door of key resistance. And you can compare, you know, to XRP and look at the difference here in this retracement size. So this retracement, much more significant, 62% versus 50%. So what does that mean? It means it's much harder for XRP to get back to the recent highs. We're scouting an equilibrium is most likely versus something that retraces less and keeps resistance close by. CRV, another one up at its recent highs. That was significant retracement, but also a big green candle trying to make up for it. Again, all these names are just battling the same resistance Bitcoin is, which is from November, December. And so that's what we care about. Technically, it would be a weekly uptrend if CRV can break 44. It's a dinky pivot, but that is the hurdle. There's a lot of individual names that have a November, December resistance zone that we have to clear if this move is going to see continuation. Dash, definitely a huge pump. So why is Dash, someone's asking me here, what made Dash pop? So that's part of the theory is that the deep state insiders want to use privacy tokens to hide their theft and fraud. I'm not going that deep down the rabbit hole. Sure, maybe. But privacy coin, ZEC. And we know ZEC had its issues with the development team leaving. We knew to be scouting a weekly lower high. Still in equilibrium at this point. Watching to see if the bulls can pull it off to keep tightening up. But Dash, what it shows me is for it to move this fast and this hard, it's easy to pump. This move today on Coinbase, your total volume, I mean, let's look at the volume required to pump. And obviously, there's a lot of dollar volume on other exchanges as well. But just this 4-hour candle, to go from here to here, 52%, that total volume is, where's my volume? I got a glare on my screen right now, so I can't see anything. Why is it not showing me? There it is. Wow. Hold on. 55%, 170,000 coins. Let's just do rough math. 170,000 times 58. I just pick a price point that's roughly in the middle of that range. So $10 million required to rip it 55%. It's very thinly traded. It's easy for big money to come in with a handful of millions of dollars and rip the price. So we're going to look for a 4-hour higher low. We're going to look for a tightening range. It definitely pump and dumps. I mean, this was a monster pump, and we then just gave it all back. Is this just going to be the monthly higher low is now set? Can we follow through? That's the big question. Again, just like these altcoins, they rip for a few days. Do we just bleed and give it all back, or do we see the higher low and higher high? It's the same question on Dash. Can we set a 4-hour higher low and keep this move going, or is it just a quick pump? The bulls that loaded beforehand and then helped it pump, are they just selling into it and they're going to be done with it? Who knows? But you got to keep this retracement healthy and see continuation. And we're approaching 50% retracement at this point. Yeah, so BCH, you got to be cautious because BCH was going counter to altcoins for so long, and now it's going counter in the other direction. You just got to be cautious because we lost the daily uptrend for the first time in a month or 3 weeks. Again, a weekly higher low is the most likely scenario. You just want to hold EMA 12 here to keep this weekly consolidation healthy. Am I planning to trim my long-term crypto into a monthly lower high? No, I have a short-term position, remember? So 82,000, I'll sell that. I will anticipate if the bulls are able to get up, you know, I'm gonna sell that in the upper 90s, low 100s if these bulls can follow through. It's not enough euphoria. The only time I'm selling my long-term no touch is euphoria. And the reason I did it, honestly, the reason I sold 15 to 20% of my long-term no touch earlier in 2025, it was literally my anti-idiot play. What do I mean by that? My decision was, okay, we're euphoric. And number two, Trump just launched an altcoin. If that marks a top, and I don't do anything, I'm going to feel like a dumb idiot looking back on myself. I don't want to feel like a dumb idiot. That's too glaringly obvious, a red flag. And so for me, that was my reason for selling. And now I'm seeing some of the OG crypto people being like, oh, how could we not have seen it? So no, we're not euphoric enough for me to sell. I'll hold what I have left another 10 years, whatever. It's not going to impact my life one way or the other. So that's my approach. Short term, yes, I will sell into a monthly anticipated lower high. Long term, nope. I'll ride it another 50% drop. I'll ride it for another decade plus, whatever. Maybe I'll trim a little Ethereum. If I'm going to trim anything, it would be Ethereum into a monthly lower high after that glaring double top. Maybe. But even then, I would only just trim another 10% of my Ethereum, something like that. Crypto stream, not looking at individual stocks unless they're crypto related. Speaking of which, MSTR, daily, tightening up. Key resistance approaching. We double bottomed in the 154s, and now it's all about 171 area. Same thing. Tops in December. Can we clear this zone? Otherwise, I don't see a ton of crypto stocks showing strength. The miners, CLSK giving it back today. MARA, not doing a whole lot. BMNR tightening up. Similar to ETH, nothing really standing out there. Again, I don't even consider IREN crypto at this point. BTC, is it a 4-hour cup and handle? No. Well, you're looking back there. That would be more zoomed out for me. I would be calling that a daily, if anything. So is that a daily cup and handle? What's the retracement size? If we're determining if something's a bull flag, and my answer is no, because a bull flag, you retrace 382 or less. As soon as you retrace 50% or more, the probabilities of an equilibrium and tightening range increase. So it's definitely, honestly, if I'm a bull, I wouldn't want to head straight up and break 94 from here, because I wouldn't expect a lot of follow through. If that were to happen, we would have a bunch of time frames getting overbought real quick. What I would prefer, if I could choose exactly how a bull break takes place, give me a little leg up to 94, give me a 12-hour bull flag into the end of the week, and then break. And that 12-hour bull flag would cool off the 4-hour. It would cool off everything. It would have more bears jump into top fish and hopefully allow for a bit more power on a bull break. I'm having a flashback. Probably said the same thing here. I don't want to break resistance. We're not going to follow through. I want to reject, bull flag, and then break out. That's why the cup and handles have the power behind them. Because as soon as you reject from resistance, more bears pile in. And then if you can bull flag and then break, you're stopping out a whole lot more at once. If you break resistance, then consolidate, then go for continuation, you've already stopped out a bunch of bears. You want to keep building that pressure and stop everybody out at once. Silver to 100 potentially, so that's another factor. Okay, we can talk metals. That's relevant. Metals haven't topped. All-time high silver today, gold yesterday. I have 8% of my silver swing position left, and it is on the chopping block. I scaled out more yesterday. Again, daily EMA 12 rider for silver. We won't be confident that silver is putting in a top until that's lost. When we lose that, weekly consolidation is then extremely likely. So again, if you are a crypto bull, it is not a requirement for metals to be consolidating for crypto to go up. But if you had to choose, you want metals to top out. Thanks, Piper. Do I think I'll ever add more to my long-term no-touch position? I will add back what I have sold in fear. And so if I do trim a little bit more, maybe some more ETH, that just increases the cash that I will add back to a long-term no-touch position in. But again, as the market matures, my reasoning for doing so diminishes, in the sense that if we're just going to track the NASDAQ, if we're just going to become another risk-on spot for markets, to me, it would be more attractive if it was a diversification tool, and it's not. So that diminishes my desire for long-term no-touch positions. Also, the fact that, we've already experienced the whatever thousands % run, and I expect gains will continue to diminish as market cap and liquidity continue to increase as well. If that can change too, you know, if Bitcoin suddenly does become diversified in that regard and goes inverse to the NASDAQ for a prolonged period of time, then I'll change my mind. What do I think about rotation of metals into crypto? 2 live streams ago, I did it, a lot of talking about that. So I'm not going to do it again, but go to YouTube, go to our channel, and look back at our crypto playlist. It was a live stream. Anyways, it's on our channel. This one, BTC versus metals 2 weeks ago. I suppose I'll just give you the link. Same hat. Good thing I'm wearing a different shirt. Also, we have to keep an eye on the reaction of markets to a potential Supreme Court tariffs decision. That may bring some volatility. We'll see what that does. All right, I got to wrap it up. I got an appointment coming up. I appreciate you watching. Again, Bitcoin daily tightening range, all about key resistance. Can we break it and convincingly set the monthly high or low or not? Bunch of altcoins also testing key 2-month resistance. Got to get over it and turn it, not just get over it, turn it into support. Look at oil. Again, just going to the library in my head. Oil. So oil struggled. This is the 12-hour time frame. So this is a week plus of oil struggling at this resistance zone. Then to start this week, we broke bull. The back test and hold is critical. And then we get the continuation. So Bitcoin, if you break bull, that's great. We'll take it. But you got to turn 94 into support. And if you back test it, you got to hold it if we're going to head up to 100 plus. All right. Appreciate you. Do good things. See if the Bulls can pull it off.